Welcome to NYC Now, your source for local news in and around New York City from WNYC. It's Thursday, June 5th. Here's the midday news from Veronica Del Valle.
Assemblymember Zohran Mamdani is reacting to news that Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is endorsing him in the Democratic primary for mayor. Ocasio-Cortez says the Queen's Assembly member is the best candidate to mobilize working-class voters and defeat the frontrunner, Andrew Cuomo. Ocasio-Cortez represents part of the Bronx and Queens and is one of the most prominent progressives in the country. She recently held a series of fighting oligarchy rallies with Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders that drew record-breaking crowds. Polls show the Democratic primary tightening into a two-person race between Mamdani and former Governor Andrew Cuomo. Primary day is June 24th. A new survey finds New Yorkers feel a little bit safer this year than they did in 2023, but not as safe as they did before the pandemic. WNYC's Charles Lanes reports.
The nonprofit Citizens Budget Commission found that while people feel more secure in parks and on city streets, perceptions of subway safety haven't improved. That's despite stepped-up patrols by the NYPD and deployments by the National Guard. Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch was asked about the findings at a forum this week.
People say, I felt safer before the pandemic. It's like, okay, maybe. But really, you felt safer before the criminal justice laws were changed in New York State.
Some of those laws were rolled back by state lawmakers just last month.
Now a look at the weather. 84 and partly sunny right now. There's another air quality alert in effect because of high ozone pollution levels today. Today, partly sunny and temperatures getting near 90. Tonight, clouds and 70.
Stay close. There's more after the break.
Primary day in New York City is less than 3 weeks away, and the candidates running in the Democratic primary for New York City mayor took the stage last night in their first debate. 9 candidates on stage, including former Governor Andrew Cuomo, who has skipped out on any event so far that would have him alongside his opponents. WNYC's senior politics reporter, Brigid Bergin, joins us now with some recap and analysis. And I have to say to start off here, ooh-wee. Wow. Brigid, 9 candidates for 2 hours. Was it as much of a free-for-all as it sounds?
Michael, I think we were all making that sound by the end of the debate last night. It was a lot to take in. For those who didn't actually watch the debate, the candidates were standing at podiums in a semicircle on a set facing 4 moderators. So we're up to 13 people on this stage at this point. Wow. There was no audience. They were positioned according to a random drawing. So you had City Council Speaker Adrian Adams on the far left, Andrew Cuomo smack in the middle, and then Scott Stringer on the far right. And if I went through the whole lineup, Michael, we'd never actually get to what they said. The sheer number of them was one of the challenges in taking it all in. Even the moderators who, overall did a really great job, struggled at times just to keep track of whether the candidates had answered their various questions.
So Andrew Cuomo was center stage in his first debate since running for governor in 2018. Was he under fire as much as you expected?
Oh, I mean, undoubtedly. He's leading the race, and the candidates really went on the attack from the very first question and never really let up. Zohran Mamdani, the Queen's Assembly member polling in second place, took aim at the big money backers supporting Cuomo's campaign.
The difference between myself and Andrew Cuomo is that my campaign is not funded by the very billionaires who put Donald Trump in D.C. I don't have to pick up the phone from Bill Ackman or Ken Langone. I have to pick up the phone for the more than 20,000 New Yorkers who contributed an average donation of about $80 to break fundraising records and put our campaign in second place.
And then City Comptroller Brad Lander took on his COVID record and ongoing federal investigation.
It's not only that Andrew Cuomo lied to Congress, which is perjury, he also lied to the grieving families whose loved ones he sent into those nursing homes to protect his $5 million book deal.
And even former Assemblymember Michael Blake, who's polling really at the bottom of the pack, lobbed a zinger about Cuomo's sexual harassment allegations. And this was during a question about public safety.
The people who don't feel safe are young women, mothers and grandmothers around Andrew Cuomo. That's the greatest threat to public safety in New York City.
Now, Michael, I could continue with sound bites from City Council Speaker Adrian Adams, State Senator Zelma Myrie, and former City Comptroller Scott Stringer. Of note, Jessica Ramos, the state senator of Queens, really seemed to avoid engaging in those attacks on Cuomo for the most part, but she tossed a few barbs at Lander and Mamdani, the leading progressives. Also, former hedge fund manager Whitney Tilson, who is standing directly to Cuomo's right, saved all of his attacks for Mamdani.
And how did Cuomo respond to all this? Did he cement his status as the frontrunner?
You know, he absolutely attacked back, and I would say he didn't have any major fumble. To Mamdani, he said, that the Queens Assembly member lacked experience and accomplishments.
Donald Trump would go through Mr. Mamdani like a hot knife through butter. He's been in government 27 minutes. He passed 3 bills. That's all he's done. He has no experience with Washington, no experience in New York City. He would be Trump's delight.
And that was in a question talking about how the mayoral candidates would handle the federal government. Cuomo largely stuck to his talking points, sometimes to the frustration of the candidates and even the moderators. He insisted that he never lied to Congress over the report of that undercount of nursing home deaths during COVID.
I was very aware of the report. I spoke to it at press conferences.
No, before it was released,
times,
Mr. Cuomo. The question is about the production of the report, the creation.
All right,
Okay, we're going to move on. We're not getting an answer. We're not going to
stand by the report.
No, it was just whether or not you were involved. Let's move on.
Okay.
So you hear a lot of that back and forth crosstalk and frustration there. And then even when he was directly asked about those sexual harassment allegations that largely led to his resignation from office, which only really came up in one direct question, he largely deflected.
So, Brigid, what were the other standout moments of this night?
All the candidates were asked about their biggest regrets in their political career. And again, the candidates used it as an opportunity to attack each other. Mamdani said that he regretted trusting the Democratic Party leaders like Cuomo, who had drove the affordability crisis and led to the election of someone like Trump. Cuomo said that he regretted that someone with so little experience could believe that he could have the credentials to run the greatest city on earth, and that the Democratic Party seems to be okay with that. And this is when Adrian Adams really laced into Cuomo.
No regrets when it comes to cutting Medicaid or health care. No regrets when it comes to cutting child care. No regrets when it comes to slow-walking PPE and vaccinations in the season of COVID to Black and brown communities. Yeah. Really, no regrets. No regrets.
And this is really how Adams has tried to attack Cuomo before. Cuomo disputes these facts, but this was probably the biggest audience for her. And given that her poll numbers seem to be rising, it was interesting to see if, after this debate, if any of those attacks moved the needle.
In 2021, we saw a little alliance between Democrat Andrew Yang, who came out in support of Catherine Garcia. Any signal of possible alliances from the candidates projected on the debate stage?
Not on the debate stage, Michael. In fact, they were all asked who they would rank as their number 2, and that was the only issue where they were in total agreement. No one was revealing their number 2.
What kind of reaction has there been so far, Brigid?
Well, as we know, it's a little early to get out there and talk to voters, but all candidates are claiming victory, and there is some big news this morning. Progressive stalwart Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez announced her endorsement in the New York Times. She is backing Mamdani, not surprisingly, as her number 1, and Speaker Adrian Adams as her number 2. This was a long-awaited endorsement, given AOC's ability to really galvanize grassroots support. She stressed the need for a real working-class coalition, including Black voters like those who make up the heart of Adams' base and her home turf of Southeast Queens. But Cuomo, for his part, is also touting an endorsement reported by the Jewish Insider that leaders of the Far Rockaway Jewish Alliance are urging their voters to back him. The Jewish Insider describes the group as an influential Orthodox coalition, and that's a big deal for Cuomo. This is a potential block of voters, and this is a group that took issue with some of the COVID-era policies, so it signals that they've potentially moved beyond that, so a lot more to come here.
WNYC's Brigid Bergin. Another debate next Thursday, June 12th. And Brigid, once again, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thanks for listening. This is NYC Now from WNYC. Check us out for updates every weekday, 3 times a day for the latest news headlines and occasional deep dives. And subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
NYC.